Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This time we're going to look at something a little bit different, a little bit away from the vintage radio scene. I am waiting on two 1M5G valves from the States at the moment. So I thought, well, in between, while we're waiting and obviously cleaning up the chassis of the Chrysler, we're going to take a look at a turntable. Now, this turntable was dropped into me a few days ago for repair. I really don't know what's wrong. The owner has said that it has no audio, so I don't know whether it's a cartridge or whatever, but I thought we'll all have a look together and just see what's going on with it. So let's have a little bit of a peek at it. Okay, well, this is the beast, and we shall have a look and see what we got. This is a very unusual looking turntable, actually. I can honestly say I've never seen one. We've done lots of turntables over the years. We will be doing quite a few very soon in the future, including a lovely Technics SP10 Mark II rebuild. That will be very interesting. So there's the turntable. Let's get him out and see what the go is with this fella. Well, there we are. This is one interesting turntable, and I'll tell you what, this is one very, very heavy turntable. I don't know how much it weighs. It would probably be at least 10 kilos, maybe a little bit more. 10 to 12 kilos, I would reckon. Be interesting to look this one up and see just how much he does weigh. Very, very nice turntable. Power, our arm lifter, stop start, reject. We have a speed control here. Oh yes, there is an LED readout and obviously a momentary switch there. Absolutely magnificent turntable. This is yeah, I'm glad we're all in this one together to have a look at this. Very, very nice. This one is an automatic stereo turntable system, PS-P7X. Now, I'm not familiar with these at all. I've never seen one. Absolutely beautiful piece of gear. We have a European type plug. It does, stamped on it, it does say that it's 240, 250 volts, 2.5 amps. So hopefully the whole thing is not 110 or something silly. We'll have a look in a minute. 2 RCAs and our amplifier ground wire. Arm itself, it has a Sony XL15 cartridge. Once again, not familiar with these. I'll just see how he's balanced. A little bit heavy on the weight, so may have been adjusted. Says in around 1.5, 1.6 grams. I would say that's about 5 grams just feeling it. So we'll have a bit of a look at that. It's a direct drive turntable. There is no belt in here. The mat is in immaculate condition. Now, I'm not sure whether this fellow comes off. Yes, he does. And there we are. There's our platter. Our direct drive motor underneath there. Obviously a speed sensor here on the side. that senses the rotation. Well, that would have made a noise. It looks like very thin magnetic material that's been sprayed around the outside. Okay, let's have a look underneath and we'll see what goodies we can see under here. I might bring this up a little bit closer for you. We have 220, 110, 120, and 240. So I've got 220, 240, 110, 120. So, and he is set to 220 volts. The frame is actually die cast material. Doesn't look like aluminium, it's some other die cast material. Okay, now we have a record insert floating around inside there. Here's our specs of what we've got on him. I'll just, if I can get this around the right way with this camera. Yeah, there we go. That's what we've got on the back. And that is one heavy turntable. Can't hold him up for too long. Okay. It'd be good if I had a second camera hooked up here. I should have hooked him up on this one. Okay. And what was floating around inside here that we did here is the 45 RPM record insert for the old 45s, the old 7-inch 45s. So that's all the noise was floating around in there. Now, the next thing, I guess, is to find out what's happening with this. Beautiful turntable. I'd be a very proud owner if I... Okay, so what I have is an amplifier system here. I'll just spear up there. It's a nice old radio tuner, Pioneer, nothing special about it. And I do have a phono input connected to him. So we'll grab a double adapter, spear this fellow in, and have a listen and see have we got any sort of sound out of this lovely little turntable. Now, power. Our speed is obviously set on 33 or 45. Okay. Plug this fellow in. Just got a double adapter going to the phono input of our Pioneer. Give him a little bit of volume. Now, I think our top comes off. Yes. We'll release the top. Okay. Now, very carefully, we're going to see what's happening here. Go on to phono. And we have audio there, which is rather odd considering the fault was no audio. We have a little bit of hum there, which you can probably hear. I haven't connected the ground. Let's do that. Okay, we shall grab a record and see what the go is. We are set on 45. That is an arm lift. which doesn't seem to do anything. Start. We've started. Arm lift. Our arm lift does not appear to be doing anything. Reject doesn't appear to be working. Okay, let's put him on the record. Let's turn him up and see what we got. And I don't really want to infringe on any copyrights, not on this one. We do have audio. It seems to be going fine there. Arm lift does not lift. Reject does not reject. Start stop. Yes, that works. But we have no reject, no arm lift. So that appears to be two faults, or one fault connected with the this panel here, or whatever's behind here. Doesn't seem to be any problems with the speed, the audio, but yes, we do have an arm lift and a reject problem. All we can do is start stop. Okay, let's go a little bit further and delve into this and see what we can find underneath him. We'll take the bottom cover off and have a look in behind here. Could be loose connections, dry joints on these switches, maybe. Could be corrosion, could be something a lot more than that. Okay, let's have a look and see what we can come up with. Okay, looking at this, screws around the edges of the bottom cover, independent of the feet, by the look of this, and we'll see what's underneath here. I've used quite a few towels here for cushioning. It's a very uneven turntable underneath with the arm assembly, etc. So if you're working on these, use as much packing as you can. So we'll bring the camera a little bit closer for you, and we'll have a look at this fella. There's no arrows pointing to any screws, so we take all the screws out around the sides. And my wife informed me yesterday that she said, Baz, if you're going to keep doing these videos, you should get a haircut and neaten yourself up a bit. I'm not a teenager anymore. But I thought us old rockers from way back just loved longer hair no matter what. But maybe in the next video I might come in with a little bit shorter hair. Let's see. Yep. Ooh, look at that. That is one nice piece of gear. That is a very, very well made turntable. Right. Our switches are over here. We'll get a bit closer with the camera there shortly. We've had some heat around this area here, which they're very hot actually. I've got the unit turned off. Now, looking at this, we'll just try and get a bit closer there with your camera. Let's bring him down a bit. Okay, here is our load motor. Goes to a loading mechanism, and I think the problem here is very, very hard to turn. I would say most of this grease in around this loading gear and this little fella, even, yes, the loading gear seems to be jam solid. I would say this is the cause of the whole problem. It won't lift because it's in a stopped position. This won't move. So I dare say we can take a few components off here, lube these up, clean everything, check the motor. Actually, the motor seems a little bit hard to turn, but it's very hard to say because it's geared directly to the reject mechanism here. So I think there will be all of our problems. It has been hot. I'll just move the camera over there. It has been very hot around here, around these transistors, but I dare say one of those would be trying to work this motor, which is jammed, and yes, it's probably overheated. By the looks of them, they're still working. A few sus joints, a little bit of a sus dry joint there. We'll go over the whole board for dry joints, etc. On this, obviously, the motor, the main drive motor, is fine. All that's working. There is nothing else anywhere that would cause any problems. So I think we'll attack this, and this will probably be all our issues. Okay, let's reposition our camera and get into it. Let's see if we can get into this now. Just looking at this at the moment. I hope you guys have got enough light there. There should be. I think initially we'll unscrew the leg. Appears to want to unscrew. Right. There's our dampening system for the whole thing. Now it looks like we'll take this. I do not have any details on this. I don't have a circuit or a service manual. So we're flying a little bit blind with this. Should be reasonably straightforward. Now here we have a couple of capacitors and a small light, which is obviously there is a optocoupler underneath there, sensor that senses when this comes around and shuts the unit off or on, as the case may be. Right, possibly this next. Now these are probably the cables that go into the arm. This could be a little bit of a trick. Not being extremely familiar with this turntable at all. We'll take our shield off. We have a little brake assembly there. I think, gee, this is going to be a trick. This is going to be a real trick. We might take the motor out next. I'm just going to lift this up and move the arm around. And as you can see, there's actually a photoresistor under there. So many things under here are very sticky, very doesn't want to move-ish. So, yes, we'll leave the arm there. I'll now we'll now remove this arm, and we may have to unsolder these cables yet. We're just not real sure. Right, so there's our cables going up to the cartridge and the arm. We have a little lever there, which obviously hits on a little switch in here. We'll clean that switch, obviously. Got to be very careful with these small cables. They're ultra thin. Let's take this fellow off. I am keeping these screws in some sort of sequence here so that I know what goes back together. Doesn't want to lift. Could be that other screw. That's the one. A little one into the plastic on top. Okay, we're going to release that circlip. Put him down there. Take this little gear out, which seems quite free, but would still definitely need a little bit of new grease. The motor himself. Yes, he turns quite freely, so certainly not the motor seized that's causing this problem. Now, if you see me putting any sort of metal objects on here, everything is disconnected, by the way. So we don't have any voltage there. We can now release this spring. In there. This can now turn and lift. Now, this also reveals another problem. This disc here is actually cracked. I don't know whether the camera's picking that up, but we have a crack in that fella. So possibly from the stress of this not moving, maybe, I don't know. Now we also have a tiny little, I guess, is an Allen key. Here's a little Allen key in the side, right in there. I may have one the same size on the bench. No, couldn't be that lucky. Okay, we've located an Allen key. And before I loosen him off, I'm just going to make a mark on the disc itself. Just a very small mark so that we know the positioning of this when it goes back on. Yes, that does loosen him. I'm glad I marked that. Always take pictures or marks. Marks are better. Now, we go. We're getting there. Now we have a circ clip holding this fellow on. I will need some circ clip pliers, and we may also have to heat this slightly for the grease to release. This will have to probably be done very localized. I have two nylon runners here, little discs. I don't know their purpose at the moment, but certainly don't want to put too much heat towards them, and certainly not these. So we may just have to heat him a little bit with the soldering iron in towards the center to get it to release the old grease. This fella here could be released as well. He's pulling the brake on that. So put him back. Right. Alrighty, we'll get circular pliers and get that circular off there. Okay, let's release our circ clip and take him out of the wires there. Okay, that fella. That's what we use, circ clip pliers, in case of anyone wanting to attack a turntable like this. Yes, we're certainly totally locked. I'm going to try a little bit of gentle heat on this for a little while and see whether this will release without any dramatic heat going to it. This one is certainly seized up. Normally this happens with the Garrett turntables, the AT6s, etc. They've got a little gear in them like this, and the auto mechanism just stops working, seizes up. Sometimes it seizes the table as well. So yeah, it's interesting that this one has done it. The rest of the turntable looks in perfect order. I certainly don't want to put any more heat than what we're doing with the soldering iron, just to warm him up. Any sort of a more heat, a flame or anything like that we'd be in big trouble. See if he moves now. Yes, we're moving. And this is a bit of a pain having all these cables here, but there's not much more I can do with that. And here we go. Now in this as well, I don't know whether it's on a bearing there. I don't know whether a little bit of spray will help. Okay, put a little bit of spray around, a little bit of 226, which is that stuff. This is what I use. CRC 226. Just see if I can get a little bit in there. To loosen him up. And I think we have a win. We're coming loose. We're coming free. There we go. Wow, that was certainly jammed on there. So we'll try and clean him up a little bit. A little bit of spray on a bud. And go around this fella and try and get rid of all the old grease, etc. that's there. It's the grease is actually rock hard. It is really hard down the bottom there. We'll pause the video and come back when I've cleaned up a little bit there. Okay, so as we're cleaning, I'm just using a little bit of 226 in around the gears, the post, so forth, to clean him up a little, clean him up as best we can. I haven't released these wires. It would probably have been easier if I had have, but I was too lazy to unsolder them. Now, getting there with this fellow, what we need to do is get all the old grease from around the bottom of this, get it off. There's lots and lots of old black grease, which we can probably push like so. That grease is solid. It's gone very, very hard. Because once this goes down, it runs around the bottom there, and or very close to the bottom, and yeah, certainly won't turn on that old grease. Anyway, guys, when you go to do your turntable, lots and lots and lots of turntables use gears very similar to this. If it's not playing ball after all these years of sitting, it would definitely pay to be the first thing checked. And should be able to get through fixing a turntable, even though these are an expensive and quite intricate turntable. They're reasonably straightforward to work on. Once I do this, clean all this up, I will get some isopropyl alcohol and smear it around and get rid of any residue and re-greasing. But anyway, we'll keep going here and we'll come back to that very shortly. We've also got to check these little wheels out because they are very, very difficult to turn at the moment, and they should be quite free, so we've got to check those. Okay, back soon. Now we've got as far as cleaned up around the base of the bearing there that this fellow sits on. That is good. I've put a little bit of lube in these fellas, but they're still tight. They're not quite as good as what they should be. So I'm going to undo the screw. There's a screw under here that holds them in place, and clean the little shaft that they're sitting on. I'm not happy with them at the moment. So we will have a look I'll just do one at a time and show you guys what it actually is. So that little fella comes off. He's okay. He's actually on a spring and a little ball. So yeah, the little ball sits on the end of the spring. Possibly he just sits in there. Possibly doesn't need any better lubing. The little fellow is quite free, although we'll take the spring out, push the little ball back, don't lose him. So yes, underneath there we have some grease, quite tacky. I'd like to clean that up a little bit. I think it's advisable. Okay, I've got some contact cleaner, which just clean him up a little bit under there, and we'll clean this fellow up. We don't need these giving trouble when we put it back together, so yeah, now I'll just mop up a little bit of the excess there, wipe it down a little bit, and we'll put a little bit of grease on the shaft and underneath so he runs nicely. Let's put a little bit of very light grease, like gear grease, on here, on the shaft. Smear him round a bit. We'll put some in there where the actual ball runs as well. A little bit just underneath on the back there, in the hole. And that's him. He's going lovely there. Okay, push the ball up and we'll put in our spring. Ultimate care doing this. If the spring flies when you compress it, if you lose it, that's it. Show's over. So put the finger on the ball and on the spring, bring him back a bit, and he's all nicely intact. Put our little retainer back on there, put our screw back in there, and he should be okay. He flicks from one side to the other very easily, so he should be right. We'll do the same from the other side and we'll come back. Right, it is grease time. Get some grease liberally around the shaft where that gear runs. As I said, I don't have a service manual on this turntable, but I don't think we would need it. Let's put him back down. And he's touching that micro switch there, which seems to be pretty good. He's seated right down, so we're okay there. Okay, we'll try the circ clip again. And I say we most of the time because I hope you guys are following along with me. I consider you guys to be here with me, and it's just not me. It's you guys as well with this. I hope you're enjoying what I'm doing. Hopefully you find it entertaining, exciting, boring, whatever. Leave the comments. I love doing this work. That's I've always done this work. And if you like what I do, give me a thumbs up, give me a like, subscribe, and that will help our channel and keep it going. And hit the little bell. That will notify you when I put a new video up, which hopefully will be on our other radio, our Chrysler, very soon. Now, put this fellow on. Now that was level. We do have a split, a small split in this. Not much I can do with that at the moment. It doesn't appear to be affecting any part of the turntable, but possibly it's split because of the pressure trying to turn this, and it's split. But I don't think that will affect the operation of it at all. Now, I have a couple of marks here that I lined up earlier. I don't know whether you probably can't see them on the camera there, but they are in line there. So we'll put him back in exactly that position. Do our brake. Connect him up. There we go. So that little brake just goes on the side of this fellow. I'll try and bring my other light over there a little bit, try and eliminate some shadowing. That might be a little bit better. Okay. Now, this fellow. Put that on. Turn him around there. And this spring through the hole. That looks good. Okie doke. Now, that fellow sits there like so. Okay. Now we also have the shield on this, which runs along the wires, well positioned shortly. There are only two small screws. Now we will bring that fella back a bit, tuck our wires in the back. Reason for the shield, these are unshielded wires, so it will produce a little bit of hum unless we cover it up. Okay, that little switch has a little bit of contact cleaner. Move him a few times. He moves in and out with the brake, and obviously some sort of muting system, I would say, for the audio. Be careful not to crush any wires underneath it, especially around the side here. They want to pop out underneath it, so yeah, we just got to be careful. These capacitors are under there, as well as our light sensor. Our lamp for the light sensor appears good. The filament appears okay. So I'm hoping that everything is right with him. And as I said, this fellow covers our light dependent resistor under there, an LDR that's obviously a end of record sensor. Back to the grease. A little bit of grease around this post. This is where the little gear goes. Grab our gear and he certainly turns a lot easier than when we started. Now, our motor. Also, a little bit of grease. Right, now this is sort of a two-part process here. Putting this in while our gear goes in as well. They more or less have to both go in together. There we go. Hold this little fellow in with a circlip. Small pair of pliers. And just push him in. What I'll do is possibly, we've got to get this back up the other way to run it. Screw that fellow in. Probably put the bottom on it. I think this is going to be the only way of doing this. Right, that will hold it for the time being. Right. Set our platter on. Our lovely mat. It's in such good order. Our head shell. At the moment, I'll leave our stylus protector down just in case this doesn't work as planned. Screw the head shell on. We'll plug him in. He's on. He's sitting. First of all, we'll just position a needle. Start. Okay. If we lift our arm, we press this fellow. And look at that. We hit him again. Back down. Reject, which should take it off the record and lower it onto the arm support over here. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. That has just come up to the end of the track there now. That's looking good. That's looking real good. Excuse my camera work. Not the best. But we've got it. We've nailed it. And the positioning of when this actually leaves, when it leaves the record, we will have a look at. I'll show you about where it was. Okay, get up a little bit closer for you guys there. Down here, this plate cuts the beam from the light to the LDR behind it. That screw there pushes on this little plate against that spring and adjusts him clockwise or anti-clockwise as far as, or forward or backwards, as per the screw. All that also depends on the little Allen key that holds this whole assembly to the arm spindle. So providing you get it back in the same position as what it was when you took it off, it will be in the correct position, and you just adjust this screw in or out. I've had to adjust him in a little bit because we do have a small crack in behind this that shouldn't, that will never cause any other problems. So we'll call this fixed. Everything is working. Everything is lubed. It's a wonder this little fellow didn't cause problems up here with the drive transistors. They drive this direct. I'm going to go over the board and just have a look for dry joints or sus joints or anything like that, but it all looks pretty good, and we'll put him back together, and we'll call this job complete. Okay then. Well guys, that brings us to the end of this video with this beautiful turntable. I've learned a bit about a Sony turntable that I haven't done before. I hope you guys picked up a little bit of information. I've certainly really enjoyed doing this one. A little bit different turntable to the ones I normally do, a little bit more into it, a little bit more automatic, and it was good. It was a really good repair. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Okay, if you liked the video, give us a like. If you like, subscribe. It'll really help us along with YouTube. And if you click the little bell button down there, he will notify you when I put a new video up. Okay, until the next one, which will probably be back to the Chrysler 11-7, it's bye for now.